We are live. Ladies and gentlemen, please rise as you're able and join me in welcoming City Council and the playing of the national anthem and the reading of the invocation.
Please remain standing as you're able as I read the invocation. As we come together today, we recognize the great responsibilities laid upon us. Our council will always strive to understand the needs of the people we serve and to use power wisely and well. Our purpose is to establish and maintain a city of prosperity and righteousness where freedom prevails and where justice rules. Let us also not forget those who've served our community who are no longer with us, so we continue to do the work that we must in their memory. Please be seated. Clerk, you please call the roll.
Councillor Samwell.
Present.
Councillor Hunt.
Here.
Councillor Martin.
Here.
Councillor Caputo.
Present.
Councillor Sokoli.
Here.
Councillor Van Tilburg.
Here.
Councillor Carpenter.
Here.
Councillor McCreary.
Here.
Councillor Sullivan.
Here.
Councillor Sless.
Present.
And Mayor Davis.
Present.
Through the chair, roll call's been taken.
Thank you very much. So does anybody have a conflict of pecuniary interest they need to declare regarding any item on tonight's agenda? If so, please raise your hand. Seeing no raised hands. So separation of items in the committee reports for discussion purposes. Item 13.4.4, that's the committee review, council remuneration will be automatically separated as there is an amendment. So are there any other items that members wish separated for discussion purposes? Yes, Councillor Carpenter.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. 13.2.1 and 13.2.5, please.
Okay. Hang on. So 13.2.1, that's museum funding. And 13, what was your second one, Councillor Carpenter?
13.2.5,
The Brantford Airport.
yes.
Okay. I think I saw Councillor McCreary.
13.4.3.
And that's the human resources. In here. And as I said previously, 13.4.4 committee review council remuneration. That's been separated. Anyone else? Okay. So Councillor Martin, would you please move then motion to approve all items in the committee reports that have not been separated for discussion purposes?
Gladly. I move, seconded by my ward member, Councillor McCurry, that all items contained within the committee reports, items 13.1 to 13.6, not separated for discussion purposes, be approved.
All right. So Mr. Clerk, if you please read out the title of the items that we're about to vote on.
Through the chair, the following items are subject to the votes. So from the Human Resources Committee report, item 13.1.1, change of bylaw enforcement staff schedule. From the Committee of the Whole Operations report, 13.2.2, Healthy Kids 2022 annual report. 13.2.3, Brantford Immigration Partnership annual update. 13.2.4, Clean Brantford update. 13.2.6, City of Brantford Drinking Water Quality Management System 2022 annual update. 13.2.7, request for Crew Fest be declared municipally significant. From the Social Services report, 13.3.1, Ontario Works Business Plan 2023. 13.3.2, Plan Program Funding Allocations. 13.3.3, Homelessness Prevention Program Funding. 13.3.4, Housing Stability Update. 13.3.5, Sunrise Villa 2022 Annual Water System Report. From Committee of the Whole Planning and Administration Report. 13.4.1, City Initiated Official Plan Amendment OP 01-23 Growth Plan. 13.4.2, Short-Term Rental Accommodation. From the Planning Committee Report, 13.5.1, City Initiated Application for Official Plan Amendment OP-0223 Mohawk Lake District Plan. 13.5.2, Nature's Grand Subdivision Phase 1 and Telephone City Business Park West Traffic and Parking Control. From the Appointments Committee Report, 13.6.1, Appointment of Citizen Members to various committees and task forces. And 13.6.2, appointment of liaison members to various committees and task forces.
So if you take the vote now, please.
All items not separated for discussion purposes carries on a recorded vote of 10-1. Members of council voting in favor as follows: Councillors Sullivan, Slez, McCreary, Van Tilborg, Samuel, Hunt, Marn, Caputo, Sicoli, Mayor Davis. Members of council opposed, Councillor Carpenter.
All right, we're going to be doing something a little unusual, and it's the Brantford Local Housing Corporation Annual General Shareholder Meeting, which we have to do once a year. And we're doing that tonight. So I'd like to good evening and welcome you to the Brantford Local Housing Corporation Annual General Meeting. And the Brantford Local Housing Corporation, commonly known as LHC, is a corporation subject to the Ontario Business Corporations Act, which owns 863 units of social housing assets here in Brantford and County of Brant. These units were downloaded from the province to the City of Brantford as a sole shareholder and service manager in 2001. These are the oldest residential units built predominantly in the late 60s and 70s. So you can imagine the work that goes into these units to maintain them in a good state of repair for the citizens of Brantford and the County of Brant. Management of the LHC housing portfolio is provided through the Housing and Homelessness Services Department of Community Services and Social Development. The LHC portfolio consists of high-rise and low-rise apartment buildings, townhouses, and detached houses. We're currently selling off the detached houses upon tenant vacancy in order to add additional higher density units. There are over 2,600 residents made up of family households with children, singles, or couples without dependents, and seniors who call these buildings home. These households pay rent geared to income, which is approximately 30% of gross monthly household income. Social assistance recipients pay rent based on social assistance rent scales. Housing and Homelessness Services staff provides day-to-day property management, rent collection, building maintenance, lease enforcement, and capital assets management functions. Tenants living in LHC units have a range of service requirements that may include eviction prevention services, mediation, and problem solving in order that they can remain successfully housed. So I believe, Councillor McCreary, you have the Motion to move item 6, and if you would please confirm that, state your seconder and read the resolution, please.
Certainly, Mayor. My seconder will be Councillor Martin, my ward mate, and it reads as follows. A, that report 23-233, the annual general meeting of the Brant and Brantford Local Housing Corp. Be received. And B, that the unaudited financial statements of the Brant and Brantford Local Housing Corporation at December 31, 22 be adopted. And C, that the financial records of the LHC continue to form part of the city's overall external audit in lieu of the LHC's own external audit. And D, that the corporation of the city of Brantford as sole shareholder of the LHC consent to the exemption from the requirement to appoint an auditor for the financial year of the corporation ended December 31, 2023, pursuant to Section 148 of the Business Corporations Act of Ontario. And E, that the following persons be appointed to the LHC's Board of Directors for a term to expire at the close of the next AGM. Number 1, City Mayor Davis. Number 2, City Councillor Sicoli. Number 3, City Councillor Sless. Number 4, me. Number 5, City Councillor Carpenter. Number 6, City Councillor Samuel. Number 7, County Mayor Bailey. Number 8, County Councillor Oakley. Number 9, County Councillor Bell, who is the Vice Chair. Number 10, County Councillor Miller. Number 11, County Councillor Howes. And number 12, County Councillor Chambers. And F, that the following incumbents having been appointed as officers of the Brant and Brantford Local Housing Corp. By the directors be ratified in the respective positions listed. President, City Mayor. 2, the Vice President, Social Services Chair. 3, CEO, the CAO or his designate. Number 4, the Treasurer, Banking Signing Officer is City Treasurer. Number 5, Secretary, City Clerk or his designate. Number 6, signing officers, President and Treasurer. And finally, that the shareholders approve the minutes of the 2022 annual general meeting held May 24, 2022, as recorded in a meeting of the Brantford City Council on May 24th, 2022. And that is the entirety of the resolution before us, Mayor.
Thank you very much, Councillor McCurry. Any discussion before I call the vote? Seeing none. Mr. Clerk, would you please call the vote on that resolution?
Item 6 carries unanimously on recorded votes. Members of council voting in favor are as follows: Councillors Sullivan, Sless, McCreary, Carpenter, Van Tilburg, Samuel, Hunt, Martin, Caputo, Sicoli, and Mayor Davis.
All right, so we have no statutory public hearings on tonight's agenda, and there are no recognitions of achievements. But we do have 4 proclamations on tonight's agenda. So Councillor McCreary, would you please move the motion, move all the proclamations, state your seconder, and would you also then go on to read proclamation 9.1, please?
Mayor, I shall. Thank you. And Councillor Martin, my ward mate again is the seconder on this item. The resolution reads that the following proclamations be approved. 9.1 Brantford Pride Month, June 2023. Item 9.2 Seniors Month, June 2023. 9.3 Aphasia Awareness Month, June 2023. And 9.4 National Accessibility Awareness Week, NAAW, and that is the extent, Mayor.
And read 9.1.
I shall.
Please.
This pertains to Brantford Pride Month, June. Whereas June 1 is the kickoff day for the month of Brantford Pride 2023. And whereas in its 13th year, the Bridge and the Brantford Pride Committee invites all individuals to join together to make our local community a diverse, safe, proud city. And whereas inclusiveness is embraced by the community to support the physical, mental, spiritual, and social well-being of all its members, including the two-spirited, lesbian, gay, bisexual, trans, and queer community. And whereas there is a need to recognize that the community is made up of many diverse and unique groups, and that equity means a better life for all. And whereas the two-spirited, lesbian, gay, bisexual, trans, and queer community would like to annually celebrate Brantford Pride Month as they and their allies strive to create a healthy and safe environment now and into the future. Now therefore be it resolved that the Council of the Corporation of the City of Brantford does hereby proclaim the month of June as Brantford Pride 2023.
Councillor Caputo, could you please read Proclamation 9.2 Seniors Month?
Absolutely. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So whereas June is Seniors Month in the province of Ontario, and whereas age-friendly planning was adopted as a fundamental strategic action to ensure a high quality of life for all citizens, and whereas social inclusion, social participation, and civic engagement were identified as priorities in healthy aging, the City of Brantford's age-friendly strategy, and whereas the City of Brantford and community partners celebrate Seniors Month by launching the Healthy Aging Passport, offering free activities aimed at increasing social participation, promoting health and wellness, and highlighting new and existing programs and activities for older units with the City of Brantford. And whereas Thursday, June 1st, 2023 is Intergenerational Day, Thursday, June 15th, 2023 is World Elder Abuse Awareness Day, and the month of June is Seniors Month in Ontario. And whereas the City of Brantford continues to work collaboratively with a number of community partners, including seniors and kids, intergenerational programs, Brant Elder Abuse Awareness Committee, and the Brant chapter of the Canadian Association of Retired Persons in the Grand River Council on Aging. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the Council of the Corporation of the City of Brantford hereby proclaims June as Seniors Month and celebrates strong community partnerships that support the City of Brantford as an age-friendly community.
And Councillor Samuel, if you could read Proclamation 9.3, please, the Aphasia Awareness Month.
Whereas aphasia was reported to be the most negatively impact quality of life, followed by Alzheimer's disease and cancer, as stated in research findings conducted by Lamb and Woodchus. And whereas approximately 1 in 3 individuals who have had a stroke develop aphasia, therefore we can extrapolate that 7,864 individuals in Ontario develop aphasia every year, resulting in approximately 120,000 Canadians, almost 60,000 in Ontario, living with this long-term communication disorder. Whereas only 5% of the population possesses basic knowledge of aphasia, according to research reported by Patterson et al. In 2015. The low number can result in individuals who live with aphasia feeling misunderstood and socially isolated. And whereas increased awareness, patience, and understanding, we can build a community that is inviting, inclusive to those living with aphasia. Now, therefore, it be resolved that the Council of the Corporation of the City of Brantford hereby proclaims June as Aphasia Awareness Month and urges all citizens to join us in this special observation to take advantage of the resources available and to learn more about aphasia and engage in community events and to be patient with one another. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Samuel. The last one, 9.4, National Accessibility Awareness Week. Councillor Hunt, if you could please read that.
I certainly will. Whereas it says 15.9%, and I'll tell you it's more like 22%, but of Ontario's population is living with some form of disability, and that number is expected to increase as the population ages. Whereas disability awareness and education is important to create a culture of better understanding towards persons with disabilities. Whereas the Accessibility for Ontarians with Disabilities Act, AODA, was given royal assent in 2005, mandating that standards regarding accessibility shall be developed, implemented, and be under enforcement by 2025. Whereas standards in the areas of customer service, information and communication, employment, transportation, and the built environment have been legislated to remove and prevent barriers. And whereas the City of Brantford has adopted the principles of universal design in the Brantford Facility Accessibility Design Standards, FADS, for all future buildings and renovations of city facilities. And whereas the City of Brantford has an active accessibility advisory committee with a mandate to eliminate barriers which prevent individuals with disabilities from fully participating in our community. And whereas the city of Brantford has been taking positive steps towards the attainment of a more universally accessible city for all residents and visitors. Now therefore it be resolved that the Council of the Corporation of the City of Brantford hereby proclaims the week of May 28th to June the 3rd as National Accessibility Awareness Week in the city of Brantford.
Thank you, Councillor Hunt. Mr. Clerk, would you please take the vote now on all the proclamations?
The approval of all proclamations carries on a recorded vote of 10-0. Members of council voting in favor are as follows: Councillors Sless, McCreary, Carpenter, Van Tilburg, Samwell, Hunt, Martin, Caputo, Sicoli, and Mayor Davis.
Great. So we have no registered delegations for this evening. And we'll move to clerk's report and communications. Councillor Van Tilburg, would you please move the motion to receive the clerk's report and communications for April 2023?
Moved by myself, seconded by my ward mate to receive the clerk's report for April 2023.
Any discussion? Seeing none. Mr. Clerk, please take the vote.
Clerk's report on communication carries unanimously on a recorded vote. Members of the committee voting in favor are as follows: Councillor Sullivan, Sless, McCreary, Carpenter, Van Tilburg, Samwell, Hunt, Martin, Caputo, Sicoli, and Mayor Davis.
Now moving to minutes. Councillor Sullivan, would you please move the motion to adopt the minutes listed on the agenda and state your seconder?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. Obviously move myself, seconded by my ward mate, Councillor Sicoli, that the following minutes be adopted. 12.1 City Council, April 25th, 2023. 12.2 Special City Council, March 21, 2023. 12.3 Special City Council, Private and Confidential, March 21, 2023. 12.4 Special City Council, March 28, 2023. 12.5 Special City Council, Private and Confidential, March 28, 2023. 12.6 Special City Council, April 18, 2023. 12.7 Special City Council, Private and Confidential, April 18, 2023. That the following minutes be received: 12.8 John Noble Homes Committee of Management, May 10th, 2023, and 12.9 John Noble Homes Committee of Management, Private and Confidential, May 10th, 2023.
So any errors, omissions in the council minutes? Saying none. Mr. Clerk, would you please take the vote?
The approval of all minutes carries unanimously on a recorded vote of 11-0. Members of council voting in favor are as follows: Councillors Sullivan, Sless, McCreary, Carpenter, Van Tilburg, Samwell, Hunt, Martin, Caputo, Sicoli, and Mayor Davis.
All right, we'll now move on to committee reports that were separated for discussion purposes. So Councillor Caputo, could you please read the motion to place all those separate items on the floor?
Yes, I will, Mr. Mayor. So it's moved by myself, seconded by my ward mate, Councillor Sless, that all items in the committee reports, items 3.1 to 13.6, separated for discussion purposes, be approved.
All right, so we have 4 items that have been separated. We'll move to the first one, which is 13.2.1, museum funding agreement with Brant Historical Society. Councillor Carpenter, you asked for this to be separated.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. This is a museum funding agreement in the area of $43,000, $46,347 annually for 3 years. And this is the organization that we have already given $50,000 to for the Crystal Cottage move project. And it's been in the news recently that the Crystal Cottage has been up for sale. In fact, it may have already been sold. And so I have an amendment to this that staff have helped me with to bring the $50,000 back to the taxpayer from the sale of that property. So after everyone's spoken, I've got an amendment.
Right.
I may have a couple amendments. Thank you.
All right, thanks for letting us know that. Does anybody want to speak to this before Councillor Carpenter puts his amendments on the floor? Seeing none, go ahead, Councillor Carpenter.
Okay.
So you have more than one, or are you going to do?
I have one that's a staff preference, and I also have one that's sort of my preference, but I'm going to go with a staff preference because they're saying it's administratively simpler. And basically, it reduces item C, that the funding request of up to 46,347 be struck and replaced with $29,681. What that does is that brings back the $50,000 over a 3-year period from the sale of the house.
So that would be the 29,000 and change for each of the next,
29,681. Staff can put it up.
Yeah.
They
and
have
that's
it.
for each of the next 3 years?
Yes, and what that does is it provides the $50,000 refund that we've already paid for the Crystal Palace and other taxpayers' money. This is all taxpayers' money, of course.
So do you want to speak to it?
Just speaking with staff, the community was sort of astounded that Crystal Cottage was in as poor shape as it is, and foundation and then blocks and all the cracks in the property. And I guess the Brand Historical Society put a, maybe a $499 sign on there for sale. And I've even, the rumor is that it's been sold or it hasn't closed yet. Maybe they're doing their due diligence to close it, but there'd be funding from the sale, and council taxpayers paid for that to be put there at the tune of $50,000. And then there's another agreement for other funding as well, but that hasn't happened yet. So this is just a way to claw that back over a 3-year period out of money we're already giving them. So it just reduces the money we give them, and what they get out of the sale, they get out of the sale.
Sorry, who's your seconder in that amendment?
My ward mate, Councillor Hunt.
Okay, good. All right. So amendments on the floor. Councillor Sikoli.
Yes, thank you. Is there anyone on staff that can confirm if the cottages have been sold?
Through the chair, Jeff Daly, legal counsel. What we know at this point is they've reported that there's been an agreement of purchase and sale signed. We're not sure if it's closed or if they're in a due diligence period. So our information at this point provided by the Brant Historical Society is that it's under contract. We're not sure if it has actually closed yet.
So we're not sure if it's conditionally sold or if it's sold pending at this point, because those are two very different things.
That's correct, Councillor.
Okay, so I have a bit of a hard time making a decision based on speculation. And anything could happen at this point, especially if it's just conditional. So I don't think I'm going to support this at this time, just because it's 100% speculation that they're even going to be receiving these funds. Thanks.
Good. Councillor Martin.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Through you to staff, has there been a heritage designation placed on the property?
Through the chair to the Councillor Nicole Wilmot, Director of Planning and Development Services. No, not at this time. The Crystal Cottage, as it sits in its current location, has not yet been designated. In order to facilitate the move, the cottage was placed in a heritage easement agreement that would facilitate the move while still protecting some of the elements of that cottage. So once the construction of the cottage is complete, staff would move to redesignate it in its new location.
Okay. And will that happen automatically whether the owner approves or not?
Through the chair to the councillor, not necessarily. Staff would bring forward a recommendation to designate the cottage, and ultimately it would be a council decision whether or not you would like to proceed with that designation.
Okay. And when we gave the museum money for this move, was there any stipulations put on there that they couldn't sell the cottage?
Through the chair, Sarah Monroe, Director of Economic Development, Tourism and Cultural Initiatives. The original funding of $50,000 that was given to them was not subject to an agreement. There was no specifications of such.
Okay. And the money that they're receiving from the Community Foundation, if we reduce that, that money stays with the Community Foundation, does it not?
Through the chair, the funding that is recommended at this time comes from Casino Reserve. So it's part of our community funding portfolio. So it's actually City of Brantford funding and not Community Foundation funding.
Oh, okay. Thank you. I believe the museum had some expenses with moving this cottage as well. They had to put in a foundation and some other things. So to arbitrarily claw this money back without getting a full report on the financial situation of the museum, I think is premature. And it's not something that I could support this evening. I think this amendment is a little rushed and not really appropriate for tonight, I don't think. So I won't be supporting it. Thank you.
Okay, Councillor Sullivan, you're next.
I would actually like to bring forth an amendment to this amendment. And that we put a stipulation on it stating that this transpires once the closing of the sale happens.
That's friendly.
So we got the wording on that? Just check with the clerk here. So can we see that perhaps? Just so we know what the friendly amendment is. Okay, there we go. Anything else, Councillor Sullivan? Okay. Next, Councillor Hunt, did you want to? Wasn't sure whether you were indicating me you wanted to speak or not.
I can speak to it, and then I had a request to move my item that's been separated up because I have to leave. Yes.
Yes,
Anyway,
I'll have that. So that's just so that is
13.4.3.
Okay, we'll do that next.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
So speaking to the amendment, the amendment to the amendment. So this actually, I think, gives clarification that once the property has in fact been sold and the deal has closed, at that point, they would be in receipt of whatever funds they sold the cottage for. At that point, it would be appropriate for the city to recoup the taxpayer money that was spent to move the cottage to its location.
Councillor McCreary.
Mayor, thank you. Well, let me correct a lot of the misinformation that's been transpired here today. First of all, the museum was given that building by the owner who had it on a property that they wished to develop, which was on Market Street. So the building always had belonged to the museum by way of gift from that owner. Okay. The owner also paid the travel costs for that, which apparently were in the vicinity of $400,000. So third parties made big investments to save this vital piece of Brantford's heritage. We didn't pay for the move, as was alluded to earlier. We didn't have any skin in the game, except that we paid for the cost of the foundation, and we're paying the fees and the connections and so on to go on that site. So, you know, the building is free and clear, owned by that museum to do with as they wished. Someone could have asked the questions when we all fell all over ourselves approving the amount of money to save this vital piece of Brantford's heritage, but nobody thought at the time because it was a good news story. And now apparently there's maybe some grounds to be made on Facebook by, you know, talking about this item. But quite frankly, I find it an insult to the community. I find it an insult to the good people, the volunteers at the Brant Historical Society who have been behind this project from the beginning, who give freely of their time, okay? I also find it a bit of an affront to the folks on the Community Foundation who give freely of their time to adjudicate requests for grants. And I'll remind members of this council that a prior council decided to give that contract to the Community Foundation to adjudicate these grant requests to prevent exactly what's happening here tonight, having councillors meddle in the grants process for the city of Brantford's funding. You cannot equate.
Point of order.
You cannot equate the two of these, okay?
Point of order.
Just a member is suggesting the members of council are meddling in the grants process. This resolution has nothing to do with the grants process. It's city money.
I think it's a fair
And
point.
the phrase meddling is in not proper procedure.
No, I think it's a fair comment in respect to this particular issue, how it's arisen and what's transpired.
Mayor, thank you for that. A most appropriate ruling. It is exactly what I said. It is meddling in the grants process. It's our money, but we passed on the responsibility to a third party to adjudicate that. This money is given to that museum to operate for the benefit of the community. And we have an agreement with them. They provide a service to the community. We pay them to do that. One has nothing whatsoever to do with the other. The first was a grant we gave to them to build the foundation to put this vital piece of heritage on. This keeps the doors open. It keeps the employees paid. It keeps the light bills paid. And if you want to screw with this tonight, you'll put those folks out of business, okay? That building will be shuttered. And I would hope that folks that want to vote for
Councilor
this.
McCreary, would you
volunteer there to
take back
keep the
that
doors open.
most unparliamentary of words that you used there, screwing around? Would you please retract that?
Screwing, sorry, Mayor,
Yes, please retract that.
screwing around.
Yes,
Would you like me to similarly insert a word
yes,
fiddling with? How's
Okay.
that?
that sounds fine.
Yes, I'm sorry to have made you make a ruling. So those are my comments, Mayor. Don't mess with this tonight. This is their lifeblood. You can't do this just to get some likes on Facebook, folks. It's just not right.
So Councillor Sless, you're next.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I had a question through to staff, but I think it's been answered by the friendly amendment. And that was, if this funding is clawed back, what happens to the operation if this is not sold? But I think that's covered. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe that's covered by the amendment that says nothing will be clawed back until there is a closed deal. Am I understanding that correctly, please?
Councillor
Can
Slush,
you repeat that, Councillor Sless?
Yes, sorry, Mr. Hodges. I wanted to know the impact of clawing back the operating grant that we give the folks at the Brant Historical Society in the event that the building doesn't sell. And I think with the amendments, that's been answered. I just want to clarify and confirm that.
Through the chair, the current amendment to the amendment claws back operational funding to pay back a project grant. So I don't believe that's the intent of the amended amendment. It means that staff would be in a position where we would have to wait until the Brant Historical Society sells the Crystal Cottage property before we can give them any operational funding at all.
Okay. Thank you. Has any of this been run by the Brant Historical Society?
Through the chair to Councillor Sless, no, we have not had conversations with BHS.
Okay, then Mr. Mayor, I'll move a deferral until that happens once everybody's had an opportunity to speak.
Yeah, I think we've almost everyone has spoken. I will make a few comments. I as well have a concern about making this decision tonight with, frankly, not a complete record of what's transpired. It may in fact be appropriate that we do something like this, depending on what's happened with the Crystal Cottage and the funds and how they've been dispersed. And right now it's somewhat speculative to assume certain things have happened. Maybe they have, maybe they haven't. And I would think that deferral is probably in order if someone wants to make that. And I'd also say this, that this is a recommendation on funding that's coming to us from the Brant Community Foundation and their community grant program. And 6-7 years ago, council put that arrangement in place, that process in place, so that politics would be removed from decisions made in respect to these kinds of museum arts funding. And so it was done with good reason. And I'm a little bit concerned about jumping in with inadequate information and having kind of politics trump a process that we put in place or a previous council put into place to try and remove politics from these kinds of decisions, which I think is a good thing to do. So think Councillor Van Tilburg, you've not spoken.
No, I wish to support Counselor Celeste's move for a deferral. And I also want to clarify, is it deferral or referral that we need? Does that give us the opportunity, does the deferral give us the opportunity to get what Counselor Celeste mentioned he wanted to see done, the participants, or does that require referral?
Well, I think a deferral would basically have the same resolution. amendment
Okay,
coming
so I'm
back to
supporting
us.
Counselor Celeste's deferral.
Deferral. So deferral would really be deferring,
place,
yeah,
right?
and getting more information, whereas a referral would be sending it back to staff and asking them to maybe work something out, something different. But anyways, Councillor Celeste, you've already spoken, Councillor McCreary. Councillor Celeste, did you want to put? Councillor Celeste would like to put an amendment on the floor. You've already had your one speaking opportunity. What's your point of order? Yes.
Very important. By deferring this, can staff indicate how much of a delay the Brant Museum and Archives suffers in terms of getting funding flowed to them? Is there an impact?
Through the chair to
That's,
Councillor.
first of all, that's not really a point of order. That's not procedure. You're asking a question. And a motion to defer is not debatable. It's only at time and place. So let's tighten up the procedure. That's not a proper point of order. No, we're going to tighten up the procedure. So we've got to, first of all, Councillor Celeste, are you going to put that motion to defer on the floor?
Yes, I will, Mr. Mayor, seeking a seconder.
Right.
The
Councillor
deferral
Van Tilburg is seconding that. So as to time and place.
to time and place until such time as we have a report back on the conversation that is to take place between the city and the Brant Historical Society and reported back to City Council.
Okay, so you're suggesting it be 2 cycles, 1 cycle?
I would leave the timing of that up to staff. They'll have to arrange the meeting and have that conversation and write up the report from that conversation, or perhaps even have the Brant Historical Society presentation directly to council that evening.
Okay.
That would be in staff's discretion.
Any other debate as to time and place? Yes. Councillor McCurry, time and place.
Will the timing of this affect the ability of the museum and archives to have funding flowed to them?
That's out of order.
Will the meeting happen after the date by which they should be receiving their first payment?
It's out of order. It's just simply as the time and place for this to come back. So I don't see any other hands raised. Let's call the vote on this. Oh, sorry, Councillor Carpenter, time and place?
Maybe some clarification on time and place. Is this just the amendment or is this the resolution and the amendment that we're talking about here?
Time and place, yeah, that's a good question.
Just a clarification on what the amendment is.
That's a very good question. I think it's to the amendment, a deferral of the amendment. That's what I'm ruling. Okay. All right. So if I can have the vote then, please.
The deferral of the pending motion carries on a recorded vote of 10-1. Members of council voting in favor are as follows: Councillors Sullivan, Celeste, Carpenter, Van Tilburg, Samuel, Hunt, Martin, Caputo, Sicoli, Mayor Davis. Members opposed, Councillor McCreary.
Question of clarification.
Yes, Councillor Martin.
Mayor, you said that the deferral was to the amendment and the clerk read out that it was the deferral to the motion, which is correct.
Sorry, it was deferral of the entire motion as with the proposed amendment.
So that's not what you said before you called the question.
What did you have? Oh, what did you have the vote on there?
Well, through the chair, the vote was for the deferral of the motion with the amendment.
Yeah.
If we don't defer everything as one, then we just amend an amendment and we don't actually deal with the matter at hand.
I think we need to recall the vote then, because Mr. Mayor, you said the deferral was on the amendment. And that's what I was voting
Yep,
for.
fair enough. You've quite correctly corrected me. And so to clarify then that the vote we're now about to take is on a motion to defer, including the original motion and the draft amendment or proposed amendment as well. Kind of a package being deferred together.
Point of order, Mr. Mayor. As the
Yes.
mover of the deferral, the intent of the deferral was to defer the proposed amendment. The motion would carry on. The amendment would be satisfied by the meeting having been held, whether to approve or not approve the amendment. Not
Yeah.
to approve the.
I don't think you can do that because one goes in with the other. Yeah, they go hand in hand. You can't have that deferral without the main motion being amended. So that's what I'm ruling. And I'd ask the clerk to take the vote on it, please. It's the whole motion.
Thinking.
Councilor McCready, and a vote?
Mayor, I'm a bit flummoxed by this ad hocery that we've got before us tonight, and I'm not sure what's in the best interests of this community.
We're not to debate it. Either vote on it or not. Treat it as you would in the procedural rules.
The deferral carries on a recorded vote of 6-5. Members of council voting in favor as follows: Councillors Sullivan, Carpenter, Van Tilburg, Samuel, Hunt, Mayor Davis. Members opposed: Councillors Sless, McCurry, Martin, Caputo, Sokoli.
All right, let's move on now to item 13.2.5. That's Brantford Airport. Councillor Carpenter.
I think Councillor
Oh,
Hunt.
sorry, Councillor, we're going to do yours first, Councillor Hunt. That is the Human Resources 13.4.3. And I think we had an amendment, did we not? Yeah. Councilor McCurry?
Mayor, I have no comment to the what's before us. I simply have an amendment to bring forward.
Does anybody want to make a comment before I take the amendment? Not seeing it. Go ahead, Councilor McCurry. Put your amendment on the floor, please.
Mayor, thank you very much. The amendment is as follows. We're going to delete clause B in its entirety and replace with the following reading: that upon the completion of the jurisdictional review, the CAO be directed to provide the report to the task force, standing committee, and advisory committees review task force. So Mayor, what it does is, rather than have it come back to council, it comes to the committee that we're going to be striking in the next item to review the import and relevance of all of our committees, task forces, and advisory groups. It simply would send that report there to be dealt with as we would deal with all the other items before the committee.
Seconder?
Councilor Martin.
Councilor Martin. Okay. All right. Any further discussion on that? Councilor Hunt?
So speaking to the amendment, so my original resolution, the timing was related to the council receiving the new people master plan and the mandate, the current mandate of the HR committee, not considering stuff that will be in the people master plan, such as health and safety, diversity, equity, and inclusion, training and development, succession planning, and there were a number of other items that came forward. So my concern with Councillor McCurry's amendment is that we are talking about a report coming back from the CAO in Q3 of 2023 to a very undetermined date.
Okay, any other debate? Yes, Councillor Carpenter.
Yes, when it comes back to council as in part of the original, I won't be supporting the amendment for that reason. It needs to come back to all of council, where it's a majority is 6 of members of council. On the committee level, the majority is 3. It may not even make it past the committee level to come back to this council. This is a high priority item, but our policies and our HR reports. So I believe it needs to stay right where it is. I don't want to be sending this such important item that COS to a committee that can yea or nay it by 3 members of the committee. Thank you. I won't be supporting it.
Any other discussion? Saying none? Yes, Councillor McCurry.
Mayor, thank you. And I can appreciate the comments of the councillor with respect to immediacy. And certainly the committee, once struck, can begin to meet and can adjudicate that particular item provided by the CAO as soon as it's ready. And that can then come back to council, because as we all know, having been here many years, we know that everything that's done at the committee level comes back here to council, where the 11 of us adjudicate and weigh in on it and make changes and amendments, which are sometimes well thought out and sometimes not. And, we do the work that we do.
All right, I'll call the vote on it then. Oh, sorry, Councillor Van Tilburg.
A question for the CAO. What is the differences between Clause B as written versus Clause B as amended? I'm just a little unclear because I almost thought that this was a package designed specifically for human resources and that the other task forces is really just to refine what, the wherealls of all the other committees. So, yeah, if you could just answer that, the Bs and the Bs, please.
Ken, through Mr. Chair, Brian Hutchings, CEO. I think you answered the question in your question. The item B was specifically to come back to regarding the HR committee in Q3. And then if it's the task force, it'll go to the task force, which more likely meets regular on a monthly basis, but there is no date to the task force, but it can go to the task force and then can be, as other things like police services task force, things come in a monthly basis. But item B on the HR one gives a specific date. The other one does not give specific dates.
Thank you very much. Based on that and the need to get these changes through the HR, that task could go on for who knows how long. So right now I'm going to stick with the one that has a date for a report to come back to us.
So, okay, so Councillor Caputo, then Councillor Sikoli.
We're probably going to ask the same question.
Okay, who wants to go first? Councillor Sikoli or
Point of clarification, the amendment that I see before me has a date. It says that it will be brought forward to the review task force in Q3 of 2023. Is that an error or am I misunderstanding the situation?
Well, if we can just have it up, can we bring that up? Can you share it, please? Yeah. Yeah, it's just replacing council with the CAO. That's where it goes. Time looks to be the same. All right, so anything else, Councillor Sikoli?
Yes, given that the date is still applicable here, I think it's most appropriate that this does be directed to a task force whose sole mandate is to review the appropriateness and the mandate of all of our committees. So I will definitely be supporting this this evening. And if anything, we're going to get an extra set of eyes on it. It's going to be looked at one extra time. And I don't think that's necessarily a bad thing with this most important committee before us. Thanks.
Councilor Caputo.
So if we're going to actually take this to the task force in Q3 of 2023, can we have it brought back to council in the same quarter 3, 2023?
Mr. Seal.
Mr. Chair, procedurally, yes, that's normally what happens is that if this is taken to task force in Q3, usually it's then reported on through a committee of the whole operations and then to council that next month.
Okay, I'll call the vote then on the amendment to clause B.
The amendment to Clause B carries on recorded vote of 8-3. Members of council voting in favor as follows: Councillors Sullivan, Sluss, McCreary, Van Tilburg, Martin, Caputo, Sokoli, Mayor Davis. Members opposed: Councillors Carpenter, Hunt, and Samwell.
All right, so any discussion on the resolution as it's been amended? Councilor McCreary.
Mayor, thank you. And I suspect this will pass this evening. It's an exercise which previous iterations of this council have done regularly with respect to reviewing what we do, our work product, the way we engage our volunteers, the types of advice we receive, and the mandates of those committees. It's an ordinary piece of business. We also, I think we're going to do a good job of the HR committee report. And as Councillor Sokoli said, it can't hurt to have this debated a number of times. So we'll make 3 times rather than twice that ordinarily would receive during our regular process, Mayor. Thank you.
Okay, not seeing any further discussion. Oh, Councilor Carpenter.
Just a question to the staff. And so the committee report that this is going to, does that report go directly to council? Or does it go to committee of the whole?
Through the chair, it would go through the committee of the whole, and then it would go to council.
Okay, so we do get 2 others. Thank you.
Yeah, I'd like to say this. I mean, I like the resolution and combining the two. I think Councillor Hutton's resolution, as I said 2 weeks ago, has a lot to say for it. And I think it's overdue. We take a look at the HR committee, and to do that in the context of the review that we're doing of many other committees and task forces. So we'll have a comprehensive take on it and to put it into a better, more fuller context. So I can support it, and I'm going to call the vote.
Item 13.4.3 as amended carries unanimously on recorded vote of 10-0. Members of council voting in favor as follows: Councillors Sullivan, Sluss, McCreary, Carpenter, Van Tilburg, Samwell, Martin, Caputo, Sokoli, and Mayor Davis.
Yeah, and so Councillor Hunt had to leave early. She's representing council at an event tonight at the Sanderson Center. So she's not avoiding her responsibilities, but in fact is filling in a very important role for us tonight. So we'll move then to item 13.2.5. Brantford Airport Board Report. Councillor Carpenter, I think you asked for that.
Thank you. It may be a question to staff. I see this report is asking for staff investigate the possibility of developing opportunities for leasing of lands and buildings at the Brantford Missile Airport. And the staff of Brantford prepare conditions of lease and financial business case to include size and design for the areas. And the staff be directed to present a project plan and financial business case to the airport board. And the airport board make recommendations to the Brantford City Council, and that upon approval of the Brantford City Council, staff be directed to prepare the lands and their buildings for lease as per above business case that we haven't seen. So I just want some clarification to staff that this will all come back to council for approval, whether there's leases, what the leases will be, and those sorts of things. Is that the intent here? Is that how you read it? It's not very clear.
Through the chair to Councillor Carpenter, that's correct.
Okay. And would, have staff investigated any ideas of whether we would sell the airport to someone that would keep it as an airport? Has that ever been investigated?
Counselor, not to our knowledge, and I've reviewed the history of the airport in the past, and not to our knowledge is to sell the whole airports and have somebody else operate the airport. No, we have not investigated that option.
Is that an option that we could investigate?
Yes, that is an option that could always be put on the table to investigate. Yes.
Would you need direction to do that, or since I came to you with an individual name that was interested or had some interest in someone that would buy the airport and keep it as an airport, is that something that we could, you need direction to investigate that by resolution, or can you just do that on your own?
It's a good question. So staff can, receive unsolicited offers, which through unsolicited offer process. That's number one. Number two, we can investigate up to a certain point. I mean, it gets to very highly political, and staff do look for recommendations when it starts to go out there that staff are looking at possibly selling the airport. It is nice to get council direction on things that are such a high political nature. So it always helps staff to get the direction on matters like such as that.
So would it be helpful to add an amendment to here that staff also consider the option of I'll leave it at that. Never mind. They'll come to you.
Yeah, I rule that out of order anyways. But I'd say this, we do have something else that's going on right now. Of course, there's the report and study we're doing of the visioning exercise for the airport, how the airport can best fit into our local economy and our city and also the county, and what's happening in the aviation industry and how our airport could best fit into those changes and be hopefully a better utilized asset for the benefit of our community. And I suspect as part of that, there may be, as part of that visioning, it may touch on the issue of potential sale of the airport. But this particular resolution is very specific to one lot or one piece of property in the airport that the city currently occupies for storage. So it's a very specific, very detailed resolution dealing with a small part of the airport. So without any discussion, Councillor Martin.
Yeah, regarding the idea of selling the airport, what we have to remember is registered on title that the airport be sold back to the federal government for $1. So, I mean, if Councillor Carpenter wants us to make $1 on the airport, then by all means, we should sell it. But that's pretty short-sighted in my opinion. And this report, as you say, talks about.
Yeah, we're not really debating that tonight.
I never said anything about selling it for $1.
If we were going to do something like sell the airport, there'd have to be a proper notice of motion and resolution, et cetera. It's not on the table tonight. What we're dealing with tonight is dealing with a recommendation from the Airport Commission dealing with a small piece of property at the airport.
Yeah, actually, Mr. Mayor, I believe it was more property than just the one. I think it was staff to look at various properties. And one of the things that we're looking at is we're hoping to put together a package for the county to pay for a capital project at the airport that would service more lands to be suitable for developing at the airport, which could see a better return to the airport, the city and the county. And so it's a broader resolution than what you're indicating, in my opinion. I might be wrong on that. I don't know if staff can correct me if I am, but there's a lot of demand for hangar space at the airport, both commercial hangars and T hangars. And I recently got a suggestion that instead of 2 rows of T hangars, we build a third one because the demand is there. And if we can do 3 at once, there might be cost savings in doing 3 instead of 2. So that's something I've asked staff to look at, and hopefully we'll get an answer back on that soon.
So any further discussion? Councillor McCreary.
Mayor, thank you. Well, this is a good news story. It's good work by staff. There'll be more good work to come from staff. It's a good initiative from the airport ward, whose council rep happens to be my ward mate, Councillor Martin, who's done exemplary and yeoman service on this board for as long as I can remember. And I believe the current board chairman is former Councillor Mark Littell. And I really think that we've probably had some of the best representation on the airport board that we've had in my time on council. I don't know why it's necessary to interject something into a good news story that just wants to, recognize the Facebook echo chamber. We heard this story about selling this facility during the election campaign. I don't know how much more plain Councillor Martin could have been about the outcome of sale being simply to revert the title back to the federal government. And yet folks just can't take no for an answer, Mayor. So I hope everybody will support this tonight. And I look forward to seeing a good future for the airport, better than the future that we have prior to having this initiative brought forward. And thank you to Councillor Martin and to Chairman Mark.
Okay, Councillor Van Tilburg.
I'm just hearing the glowing praise reviews from Councillor McCreary regarding Councillor Martin. I'm sure he'll have such confidence as to go up in the plane with them sometime soon.
Okay, with that, I'm going to
Mayor,
call.
I must respond since my name was mentioned.
No, I'm not going to let you respond. I'm going to
That's
call the
rule.
vote.
It's the rule. I must respond. And I will
No.
tell Councillor Van Tilburg that I did go once and that was enough.
Okay, I'm going to call the vote.
Item 13.2.5 carries on a recorded vote of 9-1. Members of council voting in favor are as follows: Councillors Sullivan, Sless, McCreary, Van Tilburg, Samuel, Martin, Caputo, Sakoli, Mayor Davis. Members opposed, Councillor Carpenter.
All right, so the last remaining item that was separated for discussion is 13.4.4, the committee review council remuneration. As I understand, there's an amendment. Who's got the amendment? Councillor McCreary?
Mayor, thank you very much. I don't want to speak to the item. I simply want to move the amendment. So would you like me to do that now, or do you think there might be folks that want to speak in advance?
Well, let's follow procedure rules, and I should ask members if there's anybody that wants to speak to this before I ask the amendment to be put on the floor. Seeing none, go ahead.
Mayor, thank you very much. And of course, we did weigh in on this last time, and I think it was approved unanimously or near unanimously. The only thing we left to do tonight was to populate the committee with the names of the membership, and I'm proposing the following folks be nominated and included in the resolution, Mayor, and they would be myself, Ward 1 Councillor Rose Sakoli, Ward 1 Councillor Michael Sullivan, Ward 2 Councillor John Sless, and Ward 3 Councillor Greg Martin, and the Mayor, of course, ex officio, and welcome at every meeting.
Need a seconder on that. Second by Councillor Martin. So again, it's myself as Mayor, McCreary, Sakoli, Sullivan, Sless, and Councillor Martin. 2, 3, 4, 5 openings. So any discussion? Yes, Councillor Van Tilburg.
I'd like to amend it to add at least one more. Councillor Samwell, as had indicated last couple of weeks back when this came forward, that she wanted to be on the committee. And I also believe Councillor Hunt was interested in being on the committee.
Yeah, that's fair.
And she had to leave, unfortunately.
Councillor Carpenter, do you know what the intent of your word mate was?
I believe she had said she'd like to be on the committee.
All right, so it's quite permissible to really nominate more than the 5. And so either we expand the membership or alternatively, we have a vote off. So as matters stand, it's.
I'm thinking of expanding, and I think that would be great.
Okay, because right now I think the resolution, I think it's just 5 plus the mayor. So either we go with the 7 that are nominated and we each have 5 votes, or we expand. So Councillor Carpenter, amendment of an amendment.
Yeah, the amendment would be to amend it from 5 to 7.
Okay. Seconder, Councillor Van Tilburg. Any discussion on the amendment to the amendment? Seeing none. Let's take the vote on it. Go now. What's the vote on that, Mr. Clerk? On that?
The amendment to include two positions on the committee, which includes Counselor Samwell and Counselor Hunt, carries on a recorded vote as 7-3. Members of council voting in favor as follows: Counselors Sullivan, Carpenter, Van Tilburg, Samwell, Caputo, Mayor Davis. Members opposed, Counselors McQuarrie, Sokoli, and
Okay, so it's been expanded to 7. We do have 7 that have in essence been nominated by the next amendment. Anybody want to add? Any members? Not seeing any? All right, well, let's have a vote, please, Mr. Clerk, on the
Adding Counselor Samwell.
Samwell and Counselor Hunt.
Yeah.
Bring
So
it to
just making
total,
sure that they're there.
total of 7, and we'll wait if you include myself as the mayor. Yes.
the amendment as amended carries on a recorded vote of 10-0. Members of council voting in favor are as follows: Counselors Sullivan, McCreary, Carpenter, Van Tilburg, Samwell, Martin, Caputo, Sokoli, and Mayor Davis.
Okay, so we have the resolution then as amended twice over. Any discussion? Seeing none, Mr. Clerk, please take the vote.
Item 13.4.4 as amended carries unanimously on recorded votes. Members of council voting in favor as follows: Councilors Sokoli, Sullivan, Caputo, Martin, McCreary, Carpenter, Samwell, Van Tilburg, and Mayor Davis.
All right, so that deals with all of the committee reports, the items that were separated. But we do have under item 14, 2 urgent reports. And the first one has to do with the Brantford Airport Board report. If I can get a mover and a seconder for item 14.1, if the mover would please read it as well. Councillor Martin. Second by Councillor Sokoli. Councillor Sokoli?
Second.
Yeah, okay. Councillor Martin, please read.
I move seconded by Councillor Sokoli that report 2023-363 titled County of Brant Official Plan be received, and B, that comments of the draft official plan provided by the Brantford Municipal Airport Board attached as Appendix A be approved, and C, that staff be directed to forward the draft official plan comments to the County of Brant. And just speaking to this, at the last airport meeting, we had a presentation by the County of Brant, and they give us some details on their official plan, some of them that were related to the airport. And my comment at the meeting was it's nice to see that the county is recognizing the airport as being a very sound economic development tool for both the city and the county. And they've taken great steps to include aspects of the airport and the operation there within their official plan to protect the airport and the area around it. And I think this is a very good news story that the county is acknowledging the benefits of the airport being there. And I look forward to working with the county to see improvements at the airport as well. Thank you.
Any further discussion? I've got a question for staff. I wasn't able to make the airport commission meeting where we talked about this. Who at City Hall amongst the city staff have looked at the official plan proposed to the County of Brant as it impacts on the airport? Are there any concerns?
There are no concerns with the existing official plan draft as it is in front of you. The County of Brant did present to staff a few months ago that included planning staff, real estate, and economic development division staff. to oversee what their proposals were. Some of the amendments in the official plan draft that they have protect the lands within the hazard area, as well as protect the lands for future development, and also trigger a reaction where any kind of development that impacts our lands there'd be consultation with staff and council.
So are you content that the appropriate measures are proposed to be put into place in the county official plan that will protect the airport and ensure that it can continue to be used as an airport with the minimum of impediments and hindrances?
Yes, we're very comfortable with them, and we do feel like the County of Brant's official plan is in line with allowing us the flexibility to increase development on the property.
Great, thanks very much. Any other discussion? Seeing none? Mr. Clerk, please take the vote.
Item 14.1 carries unanimously on a recorded vote of 9-0. Members of council voting in favor are as follows: Councilors Sokoli, Sullivan, Caputo, Sless, Martin, McCreary, Samuel, Van Tilburg, and Mayor Davis.
All right, we have a second urgent item, and it's 4.2, Grandbridge Corporation Appointment of Auditor. If I can get a mover and a seconder for this fairly short resolution. Councilor Martin, if you would, you're moving it. Councilor Caputo seconding it. If you would please read the resolution, Councilor Martin.
Yes, I move, second by Councillor Caputo, that the corporation of the city of Brantford approves the appointment of KPMG as the auditors for Grandbridge Corporation for the fiscal year 2023.
Okay, any discussion? Councilor McCreary.
Could you speak to the need for this being timely and urgent?
Yep. Yeah. So as the city rep on the Grandbridge Corporation board, it goes without saying, it is rather critical to have in place auditors at all times and to have an auditor appointed as quickly as possible. This, of course, is being as well endorsed by the councils of the city of Cambridge and the council of the township of North Dumfries. And it's a fairly straightforward procedure. KPMG has extensive experience with the Grandbridge Corporation. And I believe, Mr. Hutchings, you might be able to expand a little bit on that.
Just one other thing, if I could just add, the AGM for the Grandbridge is on Thursday. So that's why it's urgent to get it today. It's because it slips through the cracks. So a lot of administrative, we weren't sure they needed official council resolution back when it came in early May. And so we had to get it through to get it resolved for Thursday, Councillor.
That's super. Thank you very much for that.
Okay, Mr. Clerk, please take the vote on that.
Item 14.2 carries unanimously on a recorded vote. Members of council voting in favor are as follows: Councilors Sullivan, Sless, McCreary, Carpenter, Van Tilburg, Samuel, Martin, Caputo, Sokoli, and Mayor Davis.
All right, so we have no resolutions on tonight's agenda, but we do have one notice of motion. Councillor Samuel, if you please read the title of your notice of motion.
2023 Earl Haig Summer Celebration.
Thank you. So now we'll move into bylaws. First and second reading. Councillor Sokoli, can you please move the motion? First and second reading of the bylaws.
Yes, thank you, Mayor. Moved by myself, seconded by Councillor Sullivan. That leave be given to the mover and seconder to introduce the following bylaws for first and second reading. 95-2023 bylaw to authorize the execution of agreements individually dated and listed on Schedule A attached hereto. Number 1, commitment and endorsement document. Number 2, amending agreement of purchase and sale between the corporation of the city of Brantford and Brant Haldeman Norfolk Catholic District School Board. 96-2023 bylaw to amend bylaw number 160-90, being a bylaw to regulate the use of lands and the location and use of buildings and structures in the city of Brantford.
97-2023 being a bylaw to adopt amendment number 5 to the City of Brantford's official plan envisioning our city 2051. 98-2023 being a bylaw to adopt amendment number 7 to the City of Brantford official plan envisioning our city 2051. 99-2023 being a bylaw of the City of Brantford to relieve certain parts of lots or blocks from the provisions of section 55 to the Planning Act RSO 1990 CP 13 as amended. 100-2023 bylaw to amend traffic bylaw 37-83 being a bylaw to regulate traffic in the City of Brantford. 101-2023 bylaw to amend traffic bylaw 144-88 being a bylaw to regulate parking in the City of Brantford. 102-2023 being a bylaw to establish chapter 118 of the City of Brantford Municipal Code. 103-2023 being a bylaw to appoint citizen and liaison members to various committees and task forces. 104-2023 being a bylaw of the City of Brantford to relieve certain parts of lots or blocks from the provisions of section 50-5 of the Planning Act RSO 1990, see page 13 as amended. 105-2023 bylaw to confirm the proceedings of the Council of the Corporation of the City of Brantford with respect to the meeting held on May 23rd, 2023.
Does council wish any of the bylaws separated, first and second reading for discussion purposes? Councilor McCurry.
102 and 103, please.
All right, so we'll call a vote first and second reading of all the bylaws except for 102 and 103.
All bylaws not separated for first and second reading carries unanimously on a recorded vote of 10-0. Members of council voting in favor are as follows: Councilors Sullivan, Celeste, McCreary, Carpenter, Van Tilburg, Samwell, Martin, Caputo, Sicoli, and Mayor Davis.
Right now, we'll deal with bylaw 102, 2023 for discussion. Councilor McCurry.
Mayor, thank you. 102 is a bylaw to appoint a deputy clerk for the City of Brantford. I don't know that we've announced that successful candidate. Have we, Mayor?
We did, but certainly nothing wrong with announcing it again.
And would that candidate be with us tonight?
She might. In fact, she's behind the curtain.
Yes, I wonder if we might prevail upon her to come out and say hello.
Congratulations, our new deputy clerk.
Yes, our new deputy clerk is Emma Boggs. And thank you, Mayor, for that.
Okay, I'll call the vote then on bylaw 102, 2023.
The first and second reading of bylaw 102-2023 carries unanimously on a recorded vote. Members of council voting in favor are as follows: Councilors Sullivan, Celeste, McCreary, Carpenter, Van Tilburg, Samwell, Martin, Caputo, Sicoli, and Mayor Davis.
All right, second bylaw 103, 2023. Councilor McCurry, you asked for this to be separated.
I did, Mayor, and similarly, this is a bylaw to appoint citizen and liaison members to various committees and task forces. Mayor, could you remind me if we have announced those names tonight?
I don't believe we have.
Would it be appropriate for us to do so? And would that be something that we could call up quickly if the mayor could announce those names?
Yeah, we can. I mean, actually, it was in the committee report, but it wasn't separated for discussion purposes. So I can tell you this, that yes, here we go. Yeah, no. So we have the Public Consultation Task Force, Charlene Walsh, Laura Bailey, Sam Kaliakovo, The Brantford Airport Board for a term to expire November 14th, 2026, Ron Johnson. 3, the Control of Vicious Dogs Committee, a term to expire November 24th, 2026, Randy Schillis and Laura Bailey. And then we have liaison members appointed to the following committees: Brantford Heritage Committee, a term to expire November 14th, 2025, Rob Adlam. And then the Brantford Accessibility Advisory Committee, Sarah Conzoli from Lansdowne Children's Center. And I believe that covers it.
Mayor, thank you for your indulgence.
So I'll call a vote then on 103, 2023.
The first and second reading of bylaw 103-2023 carries unanimously on a recorded vote of 10-0. Members of council voting in favor are as follows: Councillors Sullivan, Celeste, McCreary, Carpenter, Van Tilburg, Samwell, Martin, Caputo, Sokoli, and Mayor Davis.
All right, we'll move into third reading. Councillor Celeste, would you please read the resolution for third and final reading of the bylaws?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Could I have it put up on the screen, please? Moved by myself, seconded by Councillor Caputo, that all bylaws being received first, second reading be taken as read a third time, be finally passed and signed by the mayor and clerk.
Does any member of council wish these items separated for third reading? Seeing none. Mr. Clerk.
The third and final reading of all bylaws carries unanimously on recorded vote. Members of council voting in favor as follows: Councillor Sullivan, Celeste, McCreary, Carpenter, Van Tilburg, Samwell, Martin, Caputo, Sokoli, and Mayor Davis.
All right, while I'm signing the bylaws, we'll do ward announcements. Councillor Sullivan, let's start with you.
Thank you, Mayor. I just wanted to let everybody know that on June 3rd, West Brant will be having its community yard sale. So there's actually a map on the West Brant Neighborhood Association's Facebook page with all the different locations that are participating. So come on out and support your ward.
Councillor Celeste.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. There was a scheduled meeting for May 30th regarding the Sifton development on Hardy Road. Unfortunately, it's been canceled. Sifton will not be participating, and they are taking council's decision made at the planning hearing to the Ontario Land Tribunal. So unfortunately, there is nothing to be gained by having the meeting. So it is being canceled. It was a rather large catchment area. A notice of cancellation will be going out to all those affected. And unfortunately, now we're at the hands of the Ontario Land Tribunal. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Councillor McCreary.
Mayor, thank you. Residents on October Place will be receiving a letter in the mail today or tomorrow, perhaps asking them about the city's plan to remove the island and their opinion on that. And we would appreciate if everybody could send that back into us once they've received it.
Councillor Carpenter.
Yes, to those living in the ward, especially those surrounding the old Airedale lands, there will be a public meeting June 15th here in the council chambers to deal with the developer's proposal for the Airedale lands. June 15th at 6 o'clock here.
Right. Councillor Van Tilburg. Over to Councillor Samwell.
Thank you. I just have a few things. So first of all, I want to remind everyone about the Touch a Truck event that is happening this Sunday on May 28th from 11 to 3. And that's presented by the 4 neighborhood hubs in partnership with the city of Brantford as part of Public Works Week. I also wanted to mention June 3rd, the community yard sale that's happening also in Eagle Place in partnership with West Brant and the Shellard Neighborhood Associations. So that's 3 fantastic yard sales to take part in. And also there'll be a development meeting in regards to 50 Market Street, the Freshco Plaza, and that's happening on June 20th at Doug Snooks Community Center at 6 p.m., 333 Erie Ave. And we do invite everyone to come out and see what they're talking about for that plaza. Thank you.
Hey, Councillor Martin.
Thank you. On August 30th will be the air show. It's nice to have it back after being lost to COVID for a number of years. And because this one's being put together on short notice, the format will be a little bit different. It's going to be Wings and Wheels event and feature classic cars as well. So if you're a lover of old cars or a lover of airplanes or a lover of both, come on out and enjoy the day. Thank you.
Councillor Caputo.
Thank you. So Councillor Sluss and I have spent plenty of evenings at TB Costain over the last several weeks. We've had a very successful Ada Road and Palmerston meetings to discuss moving forward and how we're going to be approaching those areas, and it was met very positively. Also had a traffic calming meeting at Scarf Avenue in Bedford and William, and again met with some very positive responses from the citizens. I had a chance to get out to Dufferin Park a week ago Friday, have some photos taken. Very excited to see the park and how it's coming. And I think that's going to be an absolutely phenomenal site once it's ready for everybody to enjoy it. The only last thing I have is from a citizen who, a member of the Brantford Station community group, has an event happening at the Glenhurst Art Gallery Coach House, 20 Ava Road, on Friday, May 26th at 7 p.m. to 9. It's actually referred to as a Salon Arc. And what is a salon? It's a gathering of curious people exploring artful ideas, nurturing culture, and encouraging conversations. And encouraging conversations leads me to conclude on this very interesting evening we had here on council tonight.
Councillor Caputo.
I just did it.
So he just spoke, but Councillor Sicoli will speak now. As Councillor Sullivan mentioned, there will be a huge community garage sale in all of West Brant. The Shellard Lane Neighborhood Association has been collaborating with the West Brant Neighborhood Association. And I do think they sort of looped in the Echo Place. Eagle Place? Is it Eagle Place? Perfect. So June 3rd is going to be a big day. So if one man's treasure or one man's trash is another man's treasure, if that's your vibe, this is the best time to go out and hang out. Now, June is also going to be Participation Month. So out in West Brant for the month of June, the Shellard Lane Neighborhood Association is going to be offering all sorts of amazing activities. So whether you're into yoga or pickleball or soccer, we're working on cricket. There's going to be basically something to do every day of the week. And we can get those points to move us towards winning the participation competition. June 28th, we just got word that we do have a neighborhood meeting scheduled to look at some traffic calming for the Shellard Lane area. So that is June 28th. And I'm going to be reminding everybody watching tonight on June 27th at our last council meeting, but mark your days and have a look in your mailbox for the invite. And that is it for me.
Well, I think we have one other thing, that the Homedale Art Crawl coming up this Sunday. It's biannual now, I think, and it's a great way in which to display various artisans and artists that out of the Homedale area. It's very entertaining, very informative, and enriching. Also wanted to follow up on what Councillor Samuel said in reference to this is Public Works Week. And it's our excellent Public Works Department led by the GM Indy and some other terrific directors and managers that take care of what I call the backbone of our city. The sewers, the water, the storm sewers, the roads, all those essential elements that provide a very high quality of life for our community. And we would be in a sad state without our terrific Public Works Department, which is always focused on continuous improvement. And we're going to be seeing some of that through the summer and into the fall. So with that, I'm going to call this meeting to an end.